Hey everybody, it's James. In January, I gave my World Predictions 2026 presentation. Now, I've been giving this presentation for about 37 years, and in all that time, I never cease to be amazed at how clearly Vedic astrology can reflect the trends and events going on geopolitically. Here I'm going to share with you the part of that presentation where I discuss the chart for Iran. Now, in the discussion, I get into a lot of astrological stuff, okay, but that's me. I'm just a Vedic astrologer, so I'm prone to that. You can forget that part if you're not a astrological student, but you can check the slides. The slides are where you're going to see the bottom line, where I make the predictions, and that includes details like, for example, the death of the Ayatollah, and also the buildup of tension in the Strait of Hormuz, and also the attack, the potential for an attack on Iran by the U.S. and Israel, or the U.S. or Israel. It turned out that it ended up being both of them. And I also made a list of peak dates, and those peak dates turned out that one of them, the first one, February 28th, was the exact date of the attack. And these were peak dates for the attack. So I mentioned that those dates were the most likely times. So anyway, check the details on the slides. And if you'd like to see the entire presentation, then you can get that on my website, www.jameskeller.com. And in that presentation, I cover, the entire world. Of course, not every country in the world, but the most prominent countries in the news and the ones that are kind of driving kind of the world politics. Probably if the country you live in and wherever you live, you'll probably hear me cover your country. And also, I talk about it, not only just in terms of just 2026, but the entire century in general, up to 2030 as well, in more detail, and then the most detail for 2026. Okay, so I hope you enjoy the presentation. Let's go to the clip. Okay, in Iran, again, I already alluded to this. Iran is going to get hit by both of the eclipses this year. First of all, the eclipse on the 17th of February is taking place on top of the Iranian Venus. Venus is the planet of water. It's the ruler of their fourth house, the house of the land, the house of their environment in general, and it's placed in a nakshatra, Shatabisha, connected with the oceans. And Iran, has the Strait of Hormuz that it kind of it's a trading portal, where traffic goes through there and everything, and so it's a politically significant place, so there may be some stuff going on related to their the strait, or something going on related to their naval presence or navy kind of presence going against it. It can indicate some of that, maybe a naval standoff or naval intimidation or that sort of thing. That's the tendency with that influence. And then the other one is also in a water sign, so that's the eclipse in August. The August eclipse is conjuncting the ascendant for Iran. So Iran's kind of sort of a little bit challenged this year. When we look at the periods, what's more important here is and more significant essentially is the overall situation astrologically, the bigger picture. They've been in a 16-year period of Jupiter, which ends on January 5th of 2027. That's only a year away. When you get to the end of a major period, things tend to get really weird. They tend to kind of you can tend to be rejecting the things of that period. So a planetary period can produce certain actions and certain events and those sorts of things. But what it also produces is desire, the desire for something. And so Jupiter in Cancer says spiritual development. It's the combination we call Hamsa Yoga in their chart, which they say makes the person a guru. And it's even in Jupiter's even in Pushya Nakshatra, the nakshatra whose Shakti is the power to create spiritual energy. And in this kind of a form, without Rahu being right on top of it, it gives a inclination towards traditional religion. And obviously, this is a country where that Jupiter is front and center. It's Iran. It's a theocracy. Everything is centered around the Islamic or the Muslim religion, Islamic faith. That whole thing is related to religion. And the Grand Ayatollah is the, supreme commander of that. He's in charge. Okay. So the desire that comes with this is somehow, the Iranians accepted this theocratic regime, whether they liked it or not, somehow they chose it, And because we can't just divorce ourselves from our leaders because it's all part of a whole, and somehow the country chooses this or allows it, enables it, or whatever. But now the change is going to happen, which is January of 2027 to a Saturn period. And Saturn is in the second house, and the second house of food and money. And Saturn is a much more down-to-earth, materialistic planet. And it's even in a nakshatra whose desire is a desire to have the best share amongst the gods, and so it shows that, first of all, with Saturn in that position, that there'll be far more stress related to the to financial situation in Iran in the Saturn period. However, the subperiod they're in right now is a subperiod of Rahu. The Jupiter Rahu is the last subperiod, and that last subperiod is Rahu and is conjunct Saturn in the chart. So that means that even in the Rahu subperiod, they're experiencing this, but it'll get stronger when they get into Saturn. And so the public's willingness to put up with the big theocracy that has dominated them over the last 16 years is going to be far less, and their desire to have something more secular will be more. Will this completely overthrow the regime? Maybe not. Because they, it's a pretty strong Jupiter there, and it kind of clamps down on the whole country, and they're pretty entrenched. They've got a pretty strong military, and they tend to suppress violently. So I just think it'll be interesting to watch how that all plays out. There might be I already talked about some of the military confrontations around that time. Here's the chart for Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. He's the supreme leader, and he's got this. This is a sun chart, but he's got the sun and Saturn and Mercury and Jupiter in the 12th house, and Saturn is transiting across of it. This is what we call Sati Sati, and this is the middle and the most challenging part of it, March of 2025 to February 2028. So we'll watch this. I think at least what's going on here with this shift from the Jupiter major period to the Saturn subperiod will involve, from the Jupiter major period to the Saturn major period that starts in January 2027. I think it, corresponds to this transit in his horoscope, and I think it will either, affect him health-wise, or maybe he'll step down, or maybe he'll be exiled, or maybe he'll die, or something like that, somewhere in this next year to 2 years. Okay, so again, here's the more detailed version of the predictions for Iran, including, Strait of Hormuz, the potential military activity in that February to April period with some peak dates that are there. So you can watch these peak dates.